Hello everyone, welcome to the next and final part for our Salary.io training session. Next, we have the Generate Expense Invoice functionality within the payroll run process. Generating an expense invoice during a payroll run refers to the automated creation of an invoice specifically for payroll-related expenses. This process involves linking the payroll data with the accounting or financial systems to ensure that costs associated with payroll, such as employee salaries, benefits, and reimbursements, are accurately captured and recorded as expenses in the finance module. So, as a use case, the user needs to transfer the processed payroll amount for the month of March to the finance system. The payroll for the month of March has been completed and verified. Now, the user will send the total payroll amount to the finance system for proper cost tracking and accounting. Different payment components from the payroll, like basic salary, bonuses, or allowances, will be transferred to different corresponding accounts or ledgers in the finance system based on the configuration. Once this transfer is done, the payroll amount for these components will be updated in their respective ledger accounts. Here we have a workflow for the Generate Expense Invoice process. HR will start with the executed payroll record, the one for which the verification is already done, and the payroll is completed. They will go to that payroll record and click on the Generate Expense Invoice button. Once that button is clicked, the system will execute the process of transferring the payroll amount and its breakdown to create the expense invoice document. Upon completion, the system will update a message in the description field to confirm expense invoice completion. And here, the process ends. At the use execution part, HR needs to log into the system and navigate to the payroll run window. Select the specific payroll run record that has been completed and verified. Then, the user will click on the Generate Expense Invoice button on that record. Then the system will transfer the total payroll amount into the finance module, and the expense invoice is generated. The system will provide a message in the description field regarding the expense invoice generation, and a consolidated voucher ID is created that links all the individual expense invoices processed in this payroll run. Once the expense invoice generation is completed, the payroll record will be marked as finalized or freezed, so HR will not be able to do any amendments in the executed payroll run record. Let's start with the Generate Expense Invoice in the system. So here as payroll admin, I will select the record for which payroll run I am going to generate the expense invoice. Here you can see all the fields and buttons are disabled once the payslips are rolled out for this run. Now, the user will click on the Generate Expense Invoice button and click on the OK button in the confirmation. When we click on OK, another pop-up will open, and here I need to select the Payroll Expense Invoice document type. So all the expenses related to this payroll will go into this specific document type. So I'm going to select this and click OK. So here you can see the expense invoice process is finished, and the system created 4 different invoices. The reason for creating multiple invoices is that on the employee's personal information records, the payroll period and payment terms for some employees might be different. For example, as we are going to pay the salaries to some employees by direct deposit, some by cash, some by check, and using other payment layouts, that's the reason it will create different invoices grouped by these criteria. And you can see the payroll total amount for the run is matched with the total amount across the generated expense invoices. If you want to see the specific expense voucher IDs that were created, you will go to the Run Assignment tab, and here you can see in the multi-grid area, we have the different voucher IDs created. As on the header screen, we have seen that 4 IDs were created, so here you can see which employees are included in which voucher ID. And for this record, another voucher ID is created. And for the last few records, a different expense invoice voucher ID is appearing. The voucher IDs are created differently, grouped by payment method or other criteria. Once the expense invoice generation is done, all the payroll run records will be frozen or finalized. In that case, the payroll admin will not be able to do any changes or any amendments in this particular payroll run record. Next, we have the payslip, which the user or employee can generate and view from the mobile application. So here we have a use case. An employee requires their payslips for the period of the last 3 months. They should be able to preview or download the payslip at any time when required from the mobile app. Additionally, the employee should be able to see their annual pay information within the mobile application. Here we have a workflow for the employee generating their payslip from the mobile app. The employee will log into the mobile application, go to the payslip icon, and click on the desired pay period. They can then preview the payslip within the app. If they need a copy, they can then click on Download. The payslip will be downloaded into their mobile device, and the user can open and see the details. And here, the process ends for getting the payslip via the mobile app. On the execution part in the mobile app, the user must log into the mobile application and then navigate to the payslip icon. They'll select the period and then preview the payslip for which month they want to see the details. Then, they'll have the option to download the payslip to their device. Here, the employee will log in as an employee from the mobile application. Here you can also see the scan barcode option. The user needs to scan the QR code from the system's employee self-service portal. This is a one-time activity to link the mobile application to the employee's account for the initial login. So here I am going to scan the QR code. When logged in, here you can see the mobile app login page. So here I logged in as this employee, and I will enter my password and click on Done. Now when we're logged in, here you can see different module icons are visible on the landing screen. From here, we can punch attendance, book claims, apply for leave, and see notifications once our leave requests are approved. Or if we've submitted any claims, we'll get approval or rejection notifications here. Now we will click on the payslip icon. When we click on this, here you can see on the top we have the annual payout summary for the current year. If we scroll to the right, we can see the annual payout summary for the last year, which indicates the net pay, total deductions, and total gross earnings for that year. On the bottom of the screen, the employee can see the payslips for all the months for which the HR admin has rolled out the payslip. The payslip for April is available now. Once the payslip is uploaded and rolled out, the employee can get the preview of the payslip, which indicates the total salary of an employee, including both the earning components as well as the deduction components. Now, if the user wants to download this payslip, it is very easy. The employee will click on the download button, and the system will ask whether to download the file or open it directly. We can open it with a Drive application as well, and also we can choose to download it. Now here I'm going to download this file. And we can open this file on the device. So this is all about the mobile app, which will provide us the access to preview the payslip or download the payslip at any time when the employee requires it. Here we have some dynamic widgets, static widgets, and charts available on the landing page when the user logs into the system and opens the payroll run window. We have the dynamic widgets where the user can create a new record, view the payroll run records which have already been executed, generate payslips for all employees, and perform or execute various reports related to payroll. In the static widgets section, this will provide us quick navigation to specific records, whether they are records with errors, completed records, or the last month's record. Other than that, we have charts where the user can see things like the top 10 executed payrolls if the company processes more than 10 different payrolls in a month. Apart from these, we have the charts, which will provide us with information about the current month's payroll compared to the previous month's. The department chart will show us the total value or the overview of how much amount is paid to each specific department in that payroll run. Now let's have a look at this in the system. So this is the landing page. These are the dynamic widgets from where we can create a new payroll run record and view the payroll run records that have already been completed. And here we have the reports. And here we have some advanced searches where we can see the details of payrolls that were created and completed within the month and within the last 3 months. We can also quickly navigate to records where payroll was created but expense invoices were not yet generated, or if we have any cases marked for retry. And here we have quick links for quick pay records. For example, here I will click on Created Quick Pay, so instead of seeing all the payrolls, the system will show only the 2 payrolls that were processed using Quick Pay, filtered based on the selection in the advanced search. Here we can see the chart showing the top 10 payrolls executed in this period, if applicable. And if we look at the charts here, we can see the net pay comparison of the current month versus the previous month in the first chart. In the second chart, we can see the department-wise detail for this month, showing how much was paid to each department and which are the top 5 highest paying departments in the organization based on this payroll run. Other than that, we can see the comparison of active employees versus processed employees in the current period. So if we find any discrepancy between the total active employees and the count of employees processed in the payroll run, the user can easily identify how many employees were not processed. Then, the system can help navigate to those employees to investigate and find any discrepancies, or if any necessary data is mismatched or not updated for those employees. The user will update that information accordingly. And in the last chart, we have the deduction comparison of the current month versus the previous month, so we can see how much total deduction has been made for the period selected compared to the previous month. Next, we have the standard reports that are available in salary.io. So let's start with the payroll report section. The first report is the paysheet report. This report provides detailed information for all the employees who were processed in a payroll run, including a breakdown of all payroll components like gross salary, deductions, and the final net salary for each employee. The second report we have is the payroll reconciliation report. This report allows for a comparison of payroll components between the previous month and the current month. It helps identify any significant changes or variances in specific pay or deduction items across the payroll periods. The third report we have is the payroll summary report. This report will provide us with details regarding the total salary summary for all employees processed in the payroll run, and the total number of employees for whom payroll was processed in the organization for that period. The fourth report we have is the payroll annual display report. This report provides a detailed breakdown of the salary components paid out over the course of a full year. In this report, the user can see month-wise details for each employee, showing how much they received for each payroll component throughout the year. And at the last, we have the retro arrear report. This report provides the details of any retro payments that were made during a given period of time, listing the various employees who received retro pay and the amounts. Now let's navigate to the system to execute and view all these reports. So here we have some system reports available in the standards, which the user can execute directly from the landing page of the payroll run window, or from the reports folder itself. In the salary.io section, we have the reports folder from where the user can generate these reports. So we'll start by looking at the paysheet report. Here, the user will select the report type as PDF, and the organization will appear automatically. Here we need to select the payroll and the specific payroll period for which we want to generate the report. And click OK. Once the report is generated, in this report, we can see the net pay for all the employees, including their earning components and the total earnings amount, as well as the deduction components and the total deduction amount. The user can generate this report on a monthly basis after each payroll run. Next, we have the payroll summary report. Similarly, we need to select some mandatory fields in this report's filters. Here I am selecting the period, and I want to generate the report as of the 30th of April. So when I generated this report, here I have the group salary summary for this year. I can see the total gross value which we have paid to all the employees, along with the number of employees processed in each month. At the end, we have the year-to-date balance displayed. Here we also have a comparison of the current month versus the previous month summary. And apart from this, we can see the staff movement information if any employees have moved from one organization to another within the reporting period. Then third, we have the payroll reconciliation report. We will select the payroll and payroll period for the comparison. The fields marked in red are mandatory to select. This is a comparison report which will provide us information on how much salaries were paid in the previous month versus the current month, including the variance amount. So we can see the comparison of the net salary, the basic salary components, other income components, and deductions that were processed. If there are any employer-type contributions, we can also see the comparison and the variance for those in this report. Next, we have the payroll annual display report. This will provide us with a year-to-date summary. And I want to see the data for 4 months. So here I am selecting the date range for those 4 months. and select the report type. Click OK. So in this report, you can see we have the employees listed on the left side along with their employee numbers. Here we have the different wage components listed across the top, and we can see for each component, we can see the value that up until the 4th month, how much we have paid for each component to each employee. So this is the annual display report summarizing year-to-date values per component per employee. After that, we have the retro arrears report, which is also useful for HR. Here we'll select the monthly payroll, and we have processed the retro for the period of the 4th month. So here I am, selecting the 4th month period, and click on OK. So when we generate this report, here we can see the name we had given at the time of the retro pay run. It lists the employees for whom the retro process was executed, along with their employee numbers, and the component names that received retro adjustments. It also shows the input value, the calculated amounts, and from when the retro adjustment is effective. So this is the information we get in this report. Apart from this, if we have customers using Indian legislation, there are some specific reports available in the Indian legislation folder that can be generated from the system. These include the bank upload payment file, EPFO report, ESIC report, professional tax detail report, and the TDS details report. The user needs to fill in the required parameters for each report. Based on the parameters entered, the system will generate the reports. All these reports are generated in a similar manner. The system provides the results to HR for their use. Thank you for your active participation in the payroll training series. Over the course of this series, we've covered updating employee records, the full payroll process including retro pay, managing expense invoices and mobile pay slips, and payroll reports. With these processes covered, you will be well prepared to handle them efficiently and accurately. Thank you.